We have to recognize that Christianity is very much a mutt religion. Most of it comes directly from Judaism. The so-called Old Testament of Christianity is just the Jewish Tanakh. Attached to the so-called Old Testament is the aptly titled New Testament, insofar as it antedates the Old Testament. The New Testament is notable for its stories about and apparent quotations from a Jewish rabbi now known as Jesus Christ, although given the time and place of his apparent existence, his name was most certainly not Jesus, and Christ simply means enlightened. The thing to note about the New Testament is that not one thing was recorded of the apparent words of the rabbi known as Jesus Christ until decades, if not centuries, after his apparent death. What we have here is a cosmic game of telephone, which eventually resulted in many of the words written down in this book. We must also understand that none of the so-called miracles attributed to the one known as Jesus Christ originate with him. As an example, the Egyptian god Horus, whose apparent existence long predates Jesus Christ, was said to have been born of a virgin named Isis, to have walked on water, healed the sick, and to have been surrounded by 12 disciples. He was even said to have been betrayed by a friend, crucified, buried for 3 days, and resurrected. Get the picture? The Jesus myth is just that, a myth. With this in mind, the average Christian needs to reconsider the religion they put so much stock into. It is really just Judaism with some fables and fairy tales about a rabbi who performed miracles. Granted, there are words of wisdom in this book, but there are words of wisdom in many books. What the average Christian needs to do is take his or her spirituality into his or her own hands. This means putting aside the holy book. Forget about church for a while and start to tap into what they are at a foundational level of being. This is the only way to truly know God.